obviously we know about the Harry Kane pursuit last summer. They are very different types of striker. So how did we get to the point where Manchester City are signing Haaland and not Harry Kane?
Well, yeah, a bit of a long story, I guess. I think Guardiola certainly last summer preferred Haaland. Sorry, I'm just imagining the kind of quote thing we're going to use for Instagram and social media saying Guardiola preferred Kane, and it's already got me running scared of my social media mentions. But yeah, last summer he did prefer Kane because it was more of a kind of ready-made fit. Kane was seen as somebody who could be a false nine and a number nine all in one, whereas obviously Haaland, if he is ever going to be that false nine or drop off, whether it's in for parts of games or for the whole game, that will take a big adaptation. I'm not sure it would make sense, but then again, you never know how football and footballers can change, and especially with Guardiola. So maybe, but yeah, basically Guardiola wanted Kane more as it was the false nine element as well, and just plug and play, put him in this team. You could imagine City with Kane throughout this season. You'd imagine it would have been absolutely fine. The performance he actually put on against City at the Etihad when Spurs won, it was kind of the perfect demonstration of that. He was outside the box setting up chances for Son with balls in behind, and he was inside the box scoring twice, a couple of other chances. That was basically a perfect demonstration of how it would have looked at City. But obviously that didn't happen. So in terms of how we've got from that to this, there was, I think Kane did have some kind of agreement with Daniel Levy. It wasn't written down. There's a reason Jack Grealish is at City now and Kane isn't. It's because Grealish had a buyout clause in his contract. Kane didn't. Even so, I think there was an agreement over the fee. And then when City went to Spurs, Daniel Levy went, actually, we want more money. So it was all that kind of messing around, frustration. City couldn't get it done. And then I think straight away, actually, I think City as a club, there's ever really any major disagreements with Guardiola, but I do think City as a club were more keen on Haaland. And even as maybe it was straight away in August, but I know by September, people were already talking about, okay, Haaland's the one we're going to go for now. A rumour that I've not had confirmed yet, but hoping to by the time we write about it, was Guardiola needed a bit of convincing. Obviously, again, not major, because if Guardiola was dead against it, it wouldn't have happened. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. But
I think Guardiola would have been like, okay, well, Kane's still fine. Whereas the club were like, no, okay, this is the guy that's perfect for the team. It's perfect for the club, for all the reasons you can imagine. And Guardiola's gone, right, okay, I trust you. It will obviously work. It can work. It will work. And then they set about negotiating for him towards the end of last year, laying the groundwork. But even so, around Christmas time, start of January, City were like, well, we're going to try everything we can to sign this guy, but we think he wants to go to Real Madrid, so it's not going to be easy. And over the course of a few months, which is it's definitely something we'll be writing about as soon as this is announced, they've managed to turn that tide and convince him, and obviously he is now coming in. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And obviously there was Ronaldo in the meantime. Ronaldo could have happened when he was offered and Kane didn't. That would have been a bit of a spanner in the works, I guess. But obviously we know that Rio Ferdinand and Patrice Evra and Alex Ferguson decided to get involved.
Got in everyone's ears, basically.
Great decision makers.
Kit, from a German perspective as well, you've obviously watched a lot of Haaland over the years. Is dropping deep something that you've ever seen from him? Because it's not what we've heard of him and how we know him when we've seen him at his best in the Champions League. But can he provide that when he might be required?
I don't think it's impossible. I mean, I think it's an interesting point Sam makes there about and it's always the way with transfers that, our club's buying a player because he definitely fits their system, or our club's buying a player because he's a good bit of business at that point in their development. For Dortmund, obviously it was certainly the latter. And so for the last 2 years, we have seen them kind of, although he does fit their style of play in many ways, we've also seen them build teams around him to a large extent. And so he has been the focal point of the attack, and that's been natural. There's been nobody really who is going to play in front of Haaland for Borussia Dortmund. So, but I don't think that's necessarily a limitation that will definitely be there for his whole career. I think he does have the potential. I think it'd be very interesting to see what a coach like Guardiola can bring out of him. And if you look at the way he's worked with players like Royce and Sancho, even in the first year, it's not like he's just a big man in the box who, they send charging in one direction and try to pin balls at. There is a lot more kind of culture to his game as well.
Sam, you just mentioned Real Madrid. Was there anyone else close to getting him, or was it always going to be Manchester City that got this over the line?
As far as I know, well, no, it wasn't always going to be Man City that got it over the line. Like we said earlier on, City, it wasn't that they believed, it was that they knew. You know, they'd had conversations with, you know, the agents and Alfie, Erling's dad. And it wasn't that, we think that they knew. I think they'd been told that Real Madrid was something he really wanted to do, and Real Madrid was something that, you know, he would want to do this summer. So that's when it came into City going, well, we're going to try everything we can to sign this guy, regardless of that. You know, there's been a few, like every story I see about Barcelona just makes me laugh. It's like, does anyone believe this? Like, there's just like, there was one yesterday, he really wanted to go to Barcelona, but his agent told him to go somewhere else. It's like, really? Like, and I don't think that's true anyway, because if you really want to go to Real Madrid, which I firmly believe to be the case based on the information and where it's come from, and I don't think it would be like, he's desperate to go to Barcelona as well. Maybe. But I think Real Madrid.
Does that mean, Sam? Does that also mean that throughout the next few years, when he is at City, there is always going to be a cloud about when is he going to Real Madrid? Not if, but when. There's always going to be eventual departure for him to move on to Real Madrid.
It's a concern. I mean, I don't think if next season starts off brilliantly, or even if it doesn't, to be fair, I don't think anyone's going to be saying, what about Real Madrid? But it's one of those things that will be there, and people might not want to hear it now. But even if it's just something the Madrid press start up, you know, Benzema retires next summer or leaves next summer, for argument's sake. And then, you know, Madrid carry on how they are. So that's another season. But then maybe once you get into Haaland's third season at City, let's just say midway through, this is all hypothetical, of course, but it's something I could see happening. You've got Marca and Ass every day, like Operation Haaland, you know, that kind of thing. And then he starts getting asked about it after games. You know, Guardiola, if he's still there, presumably he'll be getting asked about it as well. So yeah, to answer that question, it does seem like it's going to be something that comes up eventually. Like, it's not from day one. You know, he's not going to make his debut and score a hat-trick and go, well, that's the countdown to Real Madrid side. You know, it won't be that bad. But it is a bit of a concern that, yeah, they know there is this desire to go there. I think, you know, it's even been reported, and I don't know this personally, but I know the person who's reported it, and I, you know, trust them a lot enough to bring it up here in conversation.
Does that even matter though?
It's been reported that City would one day eventually let him go, and obviously there's talks of release clauses and these kind of things. So if it's 3-4 years down the line, then it's something to kind of be prepared for, shall we say?
Because they're getting him for such a low fee, aren't they? They're getting him for such a low fee that even if he does go, they're going to make a huge profit because they're underpaying for him essentially.
Yeah, that is true. Like the commissions. So look, it's fine because it's fine in my view. A lot of people might say it's still a lot of money, and to be fair, it's more money than most Premier League teams could spend. But in terms of the low release clause, it's very low. But obviously they're going to pay almost the same in commissions, which means it's about 115 million. Which is still cheaper than what they would have got Kane for, or around the same. Yeah. And you've got that longevity and you've got that sell-on. So in terms of, is it a problem? I think you've also got to think of it from like a City point of view. They've never bought a player, really. Okay, Sane didn't really work out, but didn't really work out. A lot of the people they've got, you know, they're unveiling a statue of Sergio Aguero on Friday. Silva and company, they've already got them. When City have bought these players, they've stayed. And they've had them for 10 years. De Bruyne, How long's De Bruyne been there now? 7 years? He'll be going into his 8th season. Fernandinho, 2013, that was, so 9. David Silva was there for 10 years. Torre, 9, 10. You know, City fans expect, purely because this is how it's worked, they're big signings to come and stay. Sterling's been there 7 years. You know, these guys have been so important to what they do. So, you know, if you were to think only 3 or 4 years of Haaland right now, I suppose it's interesting that you say it wouldn't be a problem because, you know, you get the sell-on fee. That's definitely one way to look at it. I suppose the other side of it from a City point of view is you're hoping that this guy's going to be there for 10, 15 years and play alongside Phil Foden for all that time and score an untold amount of goals. But the one thing I would say is I don't think anybody, least of all City, expected Guardiola to be here for so long. And there's now a decent chance he signs a new contract as well. So maybe they're thinking, if we just get him in, we can say, yeah, he can go to Real Madrid. But maybe he loves it so much, he never wants to leave anyway.